Welcome to the preaching and teaching series of House on the Rock, Lagos, Nigeria. We believe that as you listen to God's Word, you will receive understanding, hope, and faith to become all that God wants you to be. Something is about to happen in your life.
I want to first confess that today's message might not be for everybody. Because you might not be in a fight and may not be pursuing anything. And the enemy may not be attempting to oppress you or to push you back or block your breakthrough. And so I do confess, for those of you who are in that category, you may need to just put the message in your pocket. You will need it another time. But this is for somebody who is in a real fight. When you see me go to Joshua or the book of Ephesians, I'm looking for victory. The reading of the text begins here in the 6th verse of the 10th chapter of the book of Joshua. And the men of Gibeon sent unto Joshua to the camp to Gilgal, saying, Slack not thy hand from thy servants, come up to us quickly, and save us and help us, for all the kings of the Amorites that dwell in the mountains are gathered together against us. So Joshua ascended from Gilgal, he and all the people of war with him, and all the mighty men of valor. And the Lord said unto Joshua, Fear them not. Don't be afraid of any man of the Amorites. For I have delivered them into thy hand, and there shall not a man of them stand before thee. I like the way God tells you what you got before you get it. Verse 9, Joshua therefore came unto them suddenly, and went up from Gilgal all night. And the Lord discomfited them before Israel, and slew them with a great slaughter at Gibeon, and chased them along the way that goeth up to Bethoron, and smote them to Azekah and unto Makkedah. And it came to pass, as they fled from before Israel and were in the going down to Bethoron, that the Lord cast down great stones from heaven upon them unto Azekah, and they died. That's the Amorites, the enemy. And they were more which died at God's hand with hailstones than they whom the children of Israel slew with the sword. Then spake Joshua to the Lord in the day when the Lord delivered up the Amorites before the children of Israel, and he said to the Lord in the sight of Israel, Sun, stand thou still upon Gibeon, and thou moon in the valley of Ajalon. And scientists, by the way, corroborate this. The sun stood still and the moon stayed until the people had avenged themselves upon their enemies. Is not this written in the book of Jasher? So the sun stood still in the midst of heaven and hasted not to go down about a whole day. And there was no day like that before it or after it, that the Lord hearkened unto the voice of a man. For the Lord fought for Israel. Consider with me the 14th verse. The sun stood still in the midst of heaven, hastened not to go down about a whole day, and there was no day like that before or after, when the Lord hearkened unto the voice of a man, for the Lord fought for Israel. Look for about 4 or 5 persons Slap them a high five and tell them, it's not over until you win. It's not over until you win. Now, look for one person that you know this is a message for. Somebody who you know may have told you that I feel like quitting. I've been single too long. I've fought forever. I've toiled all night and caught nothing. My life is going into its 5th, 6th, 7th decade, and it's finished for me. Look for somebody like that and tell them it's not over until you win. It's not over for you yet. And before we get done, I hope you will allow me the time. We must cry out to God to extend your day so that you don't have to fight in the night. He'll give you more light. It's a new day. Father, take hold of your servant. Take hold of this atmosphere. Take hold of a coal from the altar and take this word and use it to encourage the downcast, the broken in battle, the weak and the weary, the ones particularly who are tired and wearied from fighting and yet seem to see no real results yet. And bless this moment to refuel, to refresh, to refire, and to prophetically inspire every man, woman, boy, and girl listening in the immediate presence of the word or by the relays of the internet, the tape, the CD, or the DVD. This hour belongs to you. Do with it as you please, Dad. I pray in Jesus' name. And the people of God said a big amen. Tell somebody it's not over until you win completely. In Ecclesiastes chapter 3 and the first verse, the wise King Solomon declares to us that to everything there is a season and a time to every purpose under heaven. By this, he indicates to us the inseparable relationship that exists between times and the fulfillment of purpose. So that we understand from his tutelage that time is connected with a twin called purpose. So that the two are twain. One times the other. The other is fulfilled by the one. So then it becomes unwise for us to extend our time or our life or to use our days without a deep sense of purpose. Time or days or the passing of seasons are therefore most notably for the fulfillment of purpose. This is why we have milestones in our lives, why we mark the development of our lives with birth dates or anniversary dates, as you have heard us do in the announcements earlier on in this service. My friends, personally, I do not have time any longer for endless meanderings or wandering wildernesses. My life requires of me to be focused, to find tenacity, and to develop great commitment to cause. And I do guarantee you, however, that most people will waste much time before they begin to recognize that they don't have much time left, before they now wisely begin to apply their hearts to wisdom, before they begin to apply their hearts to finding and fulfilling the purpose of your life. Birth dates then are very important, and you ask me why. Simply because birth dates give you references to where you are in the scheme of accomplishment of your life purpose. So that if you are 20 and still in primary school, we know that there's something wrong. Primary school is marked at its end normally by your 10th, 11th, and if you're really slow, perhaps your 12th year. If you're in secondary school and are 35, there's something wrong somewhere. There was a great delay. If you haven't finished secondary school by age 15, 16, 17, we will be concerned because that purpose, acquiring a secondary education, it has a time frame in which it should be properly taken a hold of. And if you're not done with university by 22, 23 in the normal course of life, there would be some worries or some concerns. However, with tertiary education, there's a lot more laxity. What I'm really trying to tell you is that life has expiry dates. Expiration dates are very important things, and sometimes when I'm not feeling well, I look for something to take by the way of medication. If I have a bad headache, I sometimes will look for Panadol. If my stomach is uneasy, because I often have to stand up and preach somewhere or the other, I hate to rush out halfway through a message to go and look for a lavatory, so I will often reach for medication. My wife will often say, please check to make sure that the medication is not expired, because the medication has expiry dates on it, and if you use it outside the window of its usefulness, it could do you harm and not good. Maybe I'll explain it another way. As we approached the Experience concert last year, and we were within days and weeks, we brought out VVIP tags or tickets or wristbands as gifts or as graces to various persons in the church. And if I hung out one of those VVIP passes and said, I've got Experience passes for you, you'd be surprised how people would run from everywhere in the auditorium to come and get one. But once it's gone past its expiry date, it doesn't have that value any longer. For example, I have 2 VVIP Experience passes, and I'm leaving there for whoever wants it right now. And you'll notice that there is absolutely no movement because the passes are time sensitive. Whereas if this was the 2nd of December 2013 or the 2nd of December 2014, people would be willing to run over whoever they have to get one of those passes. If you don't seize your purpose within its time, you might never really get to seize it at all. If you're going to fulfill your purpose, you have to do it within a certain window of time. And Satan understands this, and if he wants to ever throw you into a quandary, he doesn't have to assail you. All he really has to do is dissociate your sense of time from your sense of purpose and leave you wandering through life unproductively as if life was endless, so that you don't get the right things accomplished in the right time of your life. My friends, this ought to propound a sense of urgency where you begin to understand that you have to do many things between now and the next 10 years of your life. For me, I have a deep understanding that between 50 and 60, those are some of the most crucial remaining years of my life. And one of those years has already gone and is irretrievable, which means I have 9 years to accomplish certain things that are timed by God and must be fulfilled before the 60th year of my life. And one of them is already gone. The year 50 to 51 has expired. It's that sense of urgency that beckons, that pulls, that drags you out of your human mess and pulls you to the pursuit of your best possibilities in God's purpose and lifts you to a call that's higher than your fleshly or earthly cravings or pursuits. My friends, those earthly cravings just don't satisfy or gratify you after you come into a certain time of life. What I mean to tell you is that I don't know who I am, but I know who I am not. And when you go through certain things and you have to deal with many vicissitudes and vacillating struggles and troubles of life, and you find yourself in certain ways or in certain situations or various scenarios, you eventually recognize that that's not me. That's not me either. This is not me. So whilst you may not know who you are, you know who you are not. And hopefully before you get old and gray-headed, you'll find out who you are and what your purpose in life is. This brings me to our text. And as we enter the text called Joshua, we're looking at a fighting man. This man Joshua, he is not pastoral. He is not an apostolic pastor or a pastoral apostle. He is not Moses. He is not gifted to lead people through a wilderness and to wander with them and to exercise much patience with them whilst he suffers their foolhardiness and their stiff-neckedness. This is not Joshua's gift. He is not Moses. And Moses is not Joshua. Moses was gifted to lead people patiently through a lengthy process, whilst they hoped that one day they would stumble into the promise that God had given to their fathers. Moses was gifted in a peculiar way to be a builder of a nation that in his lifetime he would not be able to take into the promised land. And Joshua is exactly the opposite of Moses. Because it was not given to Moses to take the children of Israel into a land that was theirs, but was also occupied by fierce opponents. That was not Moses' calling, nor was it Moses' ability. But Joshua, he was a fighter. Joshua knew how to divide an inheritance. Joshua knew how to distribute to the people the promises of God. Joshua was ready to go into the land and to fight until everything that belonged to him and the people of God was possessed and distributed to the people of Israel. Joshua knew how to fight. I wonder, is there anybody here who has a fighting spirit? Where when you know something is yours, you'll bite into it like a bulldog and you won't let go until you have it and have it completely. This is who Joshua was. If I ever had to go into battle, I would be happy to get behind somebody like Joshua. If you ever have to fight, the leader in front of you has to be a fighter. If you ever have to possess what is yours and you need to be led in the process, the kind of person that you need to be led by is a Joshua. Joshuas are the kind of people who are gifted, who are called, who are equipped, who are given skill sets to be able to lead you into a fight because they never take no for an answer. These kind of people, they are not losers. So when they lose, they become very discomforted, very disconcerted, very uncomfortable. They're unlike other people who, when they lose, they're comfortable with it because they revel and relish in the pity party. They revel in the pity and the sympathy that they get. They relish the support that they get because they were downcast. But Joshua didn't have anything to do with that kind of lifestyle. Joshua was a fighter. He said, I want to know what's ours and I'm going to get it. He knew how to fight. His men were not trained in warfare. So they didn't fight pretty. They didn't fight cute like Cassius Clay. However, in spite of the fact that they were not trained in warfare, they nevertheless had a gift to fight. They had a spirit of a fighter. A spirit that if it's mine, I'm going to get it. Nobody's going to touch or take or mess with what is mine. That's the kind of man that Joshua was. Those are the kind of men that were raised with him. And God had told him, just like I was with Moses, that's how I'm going to be with you. The same spirit, same anointing, but a different administration. Moses wandered in the wilderness for 40 years. He didn't have any opposition because the enemy wasn't fighting for the wilderness. The wilderness was a parched and a dry land. And so whilst Moses was with them in the wilderness, there was no opposition. But the moment they cross up, out, and over from the wilderness, and they now are facing the promised land, opposition shows up everywhere. My friends, if you misinterpret opposition, you have misunderstood the power of opposition, because there can never be any opposition unless there is opportunity. The fact that there is opposition is a sign that there is opportunity. In fact, the greater the opposition, the greater the opportunity. Don't expect that opportunity will strip down and become completely naked and totally visible to you. No, sir. What opposition does, it stands in front of your opportunity like a blocker to prevent you from seeing it, to prevent you from taking it, to prevent you from going in to seize your opportunity. I would never, 20 years ago, I would never have known that this was my opportunity, because when I looked at the seriousness of the opposition, it didn't give any sense that there was anything behind it. But you must learn something. Anytime you are opposed, you're not opposed arbitrarily. You're being opposed because something is at a risk of being lost by the opponent, by the opposition. And what I mean to tell you, if you're going through opposition right now, there's a blessing in disguise behind it. The enemy is trying to prevent you from getting, from seeing what he's protecting. And when you are faced with opposition, you need a Joshua in front of you. You need to follow a fighting man with a fighting spirit, who won't take no for an answer, who will leap over the walls, who will break through the troops and will not turn back till every foe is vanquished. And anytime you start going after your dream and after your destiny and after your purpose and after your promises and after your best possibilities, expect opposition. Otherwise, what you're fighting for is not worth fighting for. Anything that's going to really lift you, really bless you, really increase you, really promote you, really give you a sense of peace and purpose and fulfillment in God, it's always going to come with opposition. I don't care what it is. Even a simple immaterial thing like peace, or a material thing like a car or a house or a breakthrough or a business or a contract or a new level or a new promotion, it will always come with opposition. That means if you want to grow and go to new levels of glory, you have to be ready for opposition. Just to fight for the peace and stability of your marriage, there's going to be opposition. Just to fight to get your children through school and educated so that they progress from primary to secondary to tertiary, there's going to be opposition. Just to stay healthy, if your life carries the treasure chest of God's prowess and possibility, it's going to be a fight. Just to stay important or prominent or purposeful or productive, there's going to be a fight. It's going to be a fight. And if you're going to win the fight, you have to have a fighting spirit. What I'm trying to tell you is that I'm not expecting you to be a brawler or a pugilist. But what I am trying to say to you is that if you are a fighter and anything gets in between you and your promise, you have to be able to let them know, whilst I might not kick your teeth out, I am not going to let you stop me from getting my blessing. To deliver this, it was a fight. It wasn't a 2-day fight. It wasn't a 2-month fight. It wasn't a 2-week fight. It wasn't a 2-month fight. It was a long fight. It wasn't one round. It was many rounds. Are you here, somebody? Look at somebody, tell them it's time for Joshua. Why is it time for Joshua? Because Joshua knew how to fight until Israel, that had wandered for long years in the wilderness, now walked into and possessed what they owned. This is a people who were used to being owned, and now God is transiting them from being owned to now becoming owners of property themselves. The only problem is that the property is in the possession of some strange enemies, and now God has said to them that the land is yours and go and possess it. It's one thing to wander around in the wilderness hoping to stumble into your prophetic promise. However, if you are ever going to possess your possession, you won't be able to do it without a fight. Joshua knew how to fight. Joshua is a good person to follow when you're in the midst of a battle and want to fight through your struggles and your difficulties. It doesn't mean that you're going to be nasty and ugly, but it does mean, my friends, that if anything comes in between you and your promised purpose, you are not going to lay down as dead and allow them to run you over. No way, Jose. Because some of us, we've had to fight all of our lives. Had to fight to go to primary school. Had to fight to get meat to eat at least 2 or 3 days in the week. Had to fight to make it through secondary school. Had to fight to go to university, to get in, to stay in, and then to finish the university course. Had to fight to build this, to build that, to do this, to do that. Had to fight just to get a wedding dress, just to get married. Had to fight on every frontier of life. And this man that we call Joshua, he is a consummate fighter. He's so much a fighter that sometimes he would fight his own side. And when his help came, you know, he drew out his sword and said, whose side are you on? Because when you're a fighter, you don't take time to quickly identify the enemy. You think everything is trying to fight you. When people come, say, advance to be recognized. Halt, who goes there? Because you're not sure whether they come as friend or whether they come as foe. But when you get around fighters, you always have to carry a white flag around them. Because they're not sure whether you're opposition or friend. Anybody like that? Let me tell you how they look. Those kind of folks, they don't always do this. Normally they're always serious. They have quite a fierce face that's always set like flint. Because they're always in battle mode. You know what I'm talking about. Some of you go through one real bad struggle, and just when you get over that, before it's done and over, another battle comes, and then another battle comes. And when you think that when I get through this, I'll be able to put my feet up and let some air through my toes, then another battle comes. And then not just another battle comes, 3 come at the same time. And what you don't realize is that God was training you as a fighter. So that when you would come into the future of your life, you would be a leader to people who have to fight, because fight is your normal. Especially when you are a leader of a people who have a great promise but have not come anywhere near their promised potential. That's why I think Nigeria is such a great country. I hardly know a Nigerian that is not a fighter. Just the nature of our population density and the fact that the national pie is getting smaller and smaller, and the number of people that eat the pie is getting larger and larger, it makes every Nigerian a fighter. If you're going to get to work on time, you have to fight through the traffic. If you're going to get water from the GP tank that serves your whole apartment block, you're going to have to fight for it. If you're going to get your petrol in time before it runs out at the petrol station, you have to fight for it. Everything about Nigeria is a fight. Just to get a contract from the ministry, a fight. To get in the job, a fight. To get out of the job, a fight. To get married, if somebody else don't take him before you do, is a fight. I wonder, are there any fighters here? And whilst there's a resonance to that point, because we are really all fighters, sometimes we just get gut tired of fighting. Been fighting since you were 2 years old. Some of you are fighting from inside your mother's womb, fighting as a little child, fighting as a teenager, fighting now that you're an adult, just fighting to stay alive, fighting to keep weight off your body, fighting to keep money in the bank, fighting to pay off the bills, fighting to keep things working, fighting to keep the marriage alive, fighting to stay alive yourself. Sometimes you just get tired of fighting. Fighting all my life. When is it going to stop? But the thing about a fighter, you don't get tired for long. Because when they tell you there's another fight, all of a sudden the tired goes to sleep and the fighter wakes up. Joshua was a fighter. The biggest and the strongest city of his time, Jericho, was his first assignment. And he went off to Jericho to fight it and to pull it down. It looked impossible, but once he knew it was the promise of God, he said, we can do it. And he gave these fighting men a strategy. It seemed like a silly strategy, but because they believed God, God brought down the walls of Jericho flat, and Israel didn't have to fight in that particular battle except the fight of faith in a God who can do the impossible. Unfortunately for him, one of his associates, a man by the name of Achan, went and took something forbidden from the treasury of spoil and kept it amongst his garments. And the result of that was that when they prosecuted the next battle, they lost Ai so badly. They lost it so badly, they got whooped silly. And there's a danger to this, because when losers lose, they're comfortable with it. Because they revel in the pity, the support, the sympathy that they get from others. But when a winner loses, he is completely discomforted, because not only has he lost something, he also runs the risk of poorly or wrongly defining himself. Because he cannot define himself as a loser. He defines himself as a winner, as a conqueror. And so when he loses something or loses a battle, it plays mind games with him. It wrecks him. And the boy Joshua, the man Joshua, he wept and cried out to God. And from there forward, he starts winning and winning and winning again. That the fear of Joshua came across the many Amorites and Ammonites and Jebusites who occupied the territories that they were about to possess. Are you with me this morning? Oh, I missed a good place to preach. Look at somebody and tell them you're about to possess your possession. Look at another person, tell them, if you only knew what you were getting ready to take possession of, you would get excited right now. In other words, things that have evaded your father's and your parents' generation for 400 years, that were never a part of your sense of possibility or potential, they are literally about to become yours. What I'm trying to tell you is stuff that you ain't seen in your family for 400 years. You're about to see it for the first time. Why? Because there's a fighting man who was sent by God, who's standing in front of you, who God sent to you, Israel, so that he can divide to you an inheritance and help you to possess your possession. There are things that you own that you don't know you own. There are things that have been delivered to you that you are unaware are already yours. And Joshua was completely discomfited by the loss at Ai. It wrecked his psychology. It ruined his makeup. It ruined his mindset. He was defeated by it. But Joshua cried out to God, and he came back with a vengeance. I don't know who you are, but one of the real signs that you're a fighter, one of the real signs that you are a Joshua who divides an inheritance and possesses your possession, is that you don't take no for an answer. You don't lie down in a losing battle. You don't lie down in defeat and accept that as the new definition of your life. You always bounce back and come back with a vengeance. I wonder if there's anybody here who's lost stuff. I wonder if there's anybody here who's been beaten down before, and they tried to define you by where you were when you got beaten, but you refuse to accept that as how you are to be defined. Just because I lost once doesn't make me a loser. Just because I failed 3 times doesn't make me a loser. Just because I lost 3 battles in a row doesn't make me a loser. There's something inside of me that keeps saying I can still win again. Now, when you are successful, as Joshua became, in prosecuting his battles and his wars, you will find that everything wants to get connected to you. When you're a failure, failure is an orphan. It has no cousins, no friends, no siblings, no associates, no support. It gets nothing. But success has many fathers. Everybody wants to claim association with you when you are successful. If you ain't making it, they consider you ugly. But I've seen some of the ugliest jokers become successful, and when you're successful, they'll find something that looks nice and you say, he has nice ears. There's just something about him, I don't know how to explain it. He's just wonderful. He's so handsome. Who's handsome? And because he was successful, everybody started wanting to connect with him. I want you to look for about 4 people, slap them a high five, tell them get connected. Yeah, tell them get connected. You won't have to fight to be anointing if you just stay connected. Because the reason why this microphone projects my voice is because it's connected to something. The reason why those light bulbs are shining is because they're connected to something. You hear what I'm saying? The reason why oil comes down from the head and flows over the beard into the garments is because they're connected. The beard is connected to the head. The garment is connected to the body, which is connected to the head. If you stay connected, you won't have to fight for the anointing, because whatever you're connected to, the power on it is going to get on you. So sometimes when you're looking for a yoke-destroying, burden-removing anointing, you don't have to go and fight for it. Just get connected to somebody who already has it. Just plug in. And when you get the connection, respect the connection. Don't break the connection trying to force other issues. Otherwise, you lose the connection. And when you lose the connection, it's like walking around naked without your power. If they turn off the connection of this microphone to its wireless system, my friends, I can shout all I want. It will not project my voice because it's not connected. Until they put the wires in behind those lights, we could try to look in this room. It was a dark room until it was connected to power. They saw Joshua and they said, we want to be connected. And once they got connected to Joshua, all hell broke loose in the life of the Gibeonites. Some of you, people are not fighting you because of you. They're fighting you because of who you're connected to. Oh, you ain't helping me, so let me come over here. When all of a sudden from nowhere stuff breaks out and starts fighting you and you can't find a reason why, normally it's not because they're fighting you for you, it's because they're fighting you over what you are connected to. And so they want to try and get rid of you before you build that connection into a productive stream of conquests and victories. Hear me what I'm saying. And as soon as they connected to Joshua, 5 kings, 5 nations of the Amorites arrayed themselves in battle and came down to prosecute a war against the Gibeonites. Are you here this Sunday morning? And when they did so, guess what the Gibeonites did? They sent out an SOS call to Joshua. They said, Joshua, come down here and help us. They connected or used the connection with Joshua, the servant of God, to deliver on their possibilities, to fight and prosecute a war against the Amorites. And Joshua left where he was, came all the way down to where they were, and it was an all-night long journey. And at the end of the all night, he had to go right into the fight without getting any rest for himself and his men. My friends, some of the greatest and most important fights of your life will not happen in an opportune time. So that you arrive at the battlefront wearied and tired, where you wish to God, I wish you gave me this battle when I was younger. I wish you gave me this opportunity 10 years ago when I had more strength. I wish you gave me this vista of possibility when I was much stronger. You're giving it to me quite late in the day. I'm tired. I'm wearied. In fact, I feel completely worn out from the long night of travail to the point and place of battle. Does anybody know what I'm talking about this morning? So that you're fighting, but fighting hungry. You're fighting, but you're fighting bankrupt. You're fighting, but you have nothing in your pocket. You're fighting, but you're delirious and wearied from the lengthy ordeals of your life. You're fighting, but you're fighting worn out. You're fighting, but you're fighting battle after battle after battle, and now you're fighting having been broken by battle. You're fighting against all the odds, but slap somebody a high five and tell him, fight anyways. Oh, you ain't helping me this Sunday morning. Look for 2 or 3 more folk and tell them, I know it's hard, I know you're weird, I know you're worn, but fight anyways. Fight anyways. I know they're a fierce opponent. I know it's not just one king you're fighting, but it's 5 kings. I know you've come through a long travail, a long journey to get to the battle, and the enemy that you're facing now that you've won the battle of journeying is a fierce foe. But slap that neighbor another high five and tell him, fight anyways. Fight anyways. I know it looks like you'll take a licking on this one, but keep on ticking and fight anyways. Fight for your future. Fight for your destiny. Fight for your tomorrow. Fight to secure your children. Fight till you own property in the land. Fight till you have a place and a stake in the whole. Fight anyways. You've got to fight. You've got to fight. You've got to fight. I like what God said when Joshua decided he was going to stay in the fight. Look with me, my friends. I believe it's in the, where is it? Verse 9, Joshua therefore came unto them suddenly and went up from Gilgal all night. And the Lord discomfited them before Israel and slew them with a great slaughter at Gibeon and chased them all the way that goeth up to Bethhoron. And verse 8, and the Lord said unto Joshua, fear them not. I know you're tired. I know you're battle worn. I know you're battle weary. I know that the odds are stacked against you. I know you've just come from battle after battle after battle. I know it feels late in the day, but fear them not, for I have delivered them into your hand. Not one of them will remain after you've finished this battle. I want you to help me this morning and tell your neighbor, don't be afraid of anybody. Look for another neighbor and tell them, fear nothing. Fear nothing. Say it again like you really mean it. Fear nothing. Now, my friends, hear me and hear me carefully. God says, don't be afraid of them, for I have delivered them into your hands. Not one of your enemies will be able to stand against you. My friends, Joshua arrives red-eyed at the battle. He arrives at the battlefront tired. He has come into the battle, and it seems to be the wrong time to be in a fight. Hear me, child of God. You have to fight anyways, Joshua. You have to fight. He's in a fight, but it feels like the wrong time. But the good thing is you've got the enemy running away from you even as you arrived at the battle. Look at somebody and tell them, congratulations, you finally got the enemy on the run. It's a fight, but the good news in the fight is it's backing up. The thing that was trying to kill you, it's fading away. The thing that was trying to take you out, it's running. The thing that was trying to oppress you, it's on the run. I haven't beaten it yet. I haven't licked it yet. I haven't taken it out. But the good news is that the weight is coming off. The good news is the child is no longer in primary, but now in secondary. The good news is that whilst there was a diagnosis of a sickness or a cancer or a disease or a lump in the breast, it's diminishing. It's not as bad as it was before. You've got it on the run. That means your ability to fight is already producing results. I don't know who you are, but I think that we need to take about a 2-minute break and just rejoice that even though it's a severe fight, at least you've got the enemy on the run. Now, while people were criticizing us because the building was not yet complete, every time I came here and there was a new level, or there was a new wall, or there was a new pillar, or there was a new column, or they had started one section of the ceiling, or they had put in the air conditioner, even though it wasn't blowing cool air yet, at least what I did recognize is that I had the issue on the run. I don't know who you are. You haven't made it yet, but it's on the run. You haven't got the contract yet, but you know that the file is on the minister's desk. You haven't got the business yet, but you know that it's already in the making. I don't know who you are, but I want you to slap 3 people a high five and tell them congratulations. At least you got it on the run. That sickness is backing up. That trouble in your life is backing out. That hell that assailed you, it's fading away. That sickness that was in your body that you've been fighting for 5 years, at least now it's on the run. I don't have the victory trophy yet, but at least I got my enemy on the run. It's like watching Wimbledon tennis, and they get all the way to a tiebreaker. And if your favorite tennis player is Nadal, is that his name? Rafael Nadal, and they're playing the tiebreaker, and it's 1-1, then 2-1, then 2-2, then 3-3, then 4-4. All of a sudden, when he gets to 5-4, and then 6-4, and then 7-4, at that point, even though he hasn't won yet, you've got the enemy on the run. I just want to take another few moments and just thank God that all the enemies that have come against us, they're on the run. All those things that were trying to block your opportunity, they're on the run. All those blockers that were trying to block your breakthrough, thankfully they're on the run. It's on the run. They're not standing to fight you anymore. In fact, they looked at you and saw something with you, and they picked up their plimsolls and begun to flee. I don't know who you are, but that sickness in your body's got to go. That trouble in your marriage has got to leave. That hell in your economy has got to bow out. That deficit in your finance has to go. If you don't believe it, say nothing. But if you do, shout yes, somebody. And then lift up your voice and shout, I've got it on the run. Look, open up your eyes and look out from where you are and see that they who stood against you are now running away from you. It's on the run. That trouble is on the run. That poverty is on the run. That cancer is on the run. Whether it was in your cervix or in your lungs or in your heart or in your breasts, it's on the run. That husband that was nasty, that nastiness is on the run. That wife that was insubmissive, that insubmission is on the run. That boss that was trying to oppress you, the boss is on the run. That hellhole that tried to ensnare you, it's on the run. But if you're going to keep it on the run, you have to stay connected to the thing that brings you salvation, to your Yahushua. Slap 3 people a high five, tell them stay connected. Stay connected. Tell them stay connected, because your power is in the connection. Gibeon, you can't win the fight by yourself. You did the right thing when you called Joshua. By the way, Joshua is Hebrew for Jesus. You did the right thing when you called for Joshua. Because Joshua has a reputation, and he'll beat your enemy on his reputation before he starts bringing out his weapons. And then you see, the fellow you're connected with, Joshua, he has a connection with the Almighty. See, sometimes you might not have a strong enough connection with the Almighty yourself. But if you get with somebody who does, and you're connected to him, what he's connected to is automatically connected to you. And so whatever he can do, you get the benefit of it. You might not be a conqueror, but you become more than a conqueror. That means somebody else conquers and you just collect the spoil. Slap 3 more people, tell them stay connected. Because when the enemy wants to cut you off from your blessing, he's going to start criticizing your pastor. He's going to start criticizing your church. He's going to start criticizing your husband. He's going to start criticizing the people that God put in your life. But when they come like that, tell them, I'm already very happy in the church I go to. I love my pastor. I love my church. I love my preacher. I love the air conditioning there. I like the nice cushion chairs there too. Don't attempt to take me from my church. And if you don't have a good church, you can come to mine. Because me and my pastor, we connected. And I know my pastor's connected to his God. Otherwise, he couldn't do the things that he does. For no man can do the things he does except God be with him. Slap 3 more people a high five, tell them stay connected. Anytime the enemy tries to get you disconnected, it's a sign that you're on the precipice of something that the enemy doesn't want you to have. When you keep that connection, I promise you, that poverty that tried to ensnare your family for the last 200 years, 20 years, 2 years, is going to run. Amen. That sickness that took out your daddy and your granddaddy and your great-granddaddy is going to be on the run. That bitterness that drove your uncle to an early grave, it'll be on the run. That pain in your emotion, in your life, it'll be on the run. That protracted status that you don't like, whatever the status is, it will be on the run. I don't know who you are, single lady, but I want to tell you, that single status is on the run. That thing that was blocking your husband is on the run, baby. It's on the run. It's on the run. It's on the run. When it's on the run, all of a sudden you start feeling very confident and emboldened and encouraged, so that you forget your tiredness and your weariness from the long night of travel to the battlefront. Because when you see the enemy back up, all of a sudden something in you rises. Yeah, yes, I can finish off this Agena FPS, so I can do it. Yes, I can do it. You hear what I'm saying? It's a tall task, but I can do it. Because the lines are beginning to fall to me in pleasant places. The things that oppose me are beginning to back up and back out. Got it on the run. I don't have the trophy yet, but at least I got that old enemy on the run. Don't wait to celebrate when you get the great victory. Start celebrating when the victory looks like it's on the way to you any moment from now. And when they started to run, Joshua pulled out his weapons and he slew everybody he could get. Look at somebody, tell them, slay everything you can. Let me say it the way that I want to say it. Pursue. You didn't understand it, so let me say it in Nigerianics. Pursue. Pursue your career. Pursue your anointing. Pursue a new level of a prayer life. Pursue your finances. Pursue your financial freedom. Pursue the building of your own house. Pursue your breakthrough. Don't turn back, because if you pursue, you will overtake and you will recover all that God promised to your fathers. He said another way you'll understand it. Slap 3 people a high five right now. Tell them, go after it. It's yours. See, because Akin, I don't want to go after anything that God didn't give me. But when God told me, it's yours, like he told me she was mine. But there was a man hovering around like a helicopter who thought that she was going to be his wife. And somebody said, Pastor Paul, you know you have to have some respect. I said, what do you mean by respect? The man is a transgressor. He's in somebody else's property, even if he's been there 3 years earlier or 10 years earlier. What I'm trying to tell you is that there's a house that belongs to you somewhere nearby, and even though there's somebody living in it, it doesn't mean it don't belong to you. For God said, behold, I have given you the land to possess it. Slap somebody a high five, tell them it's yours, go and get it. And if they don't like the look on your face, look for somebody else and tell them, if you don't take it, I will. Do you have any idea what is waiting for you, that God already put your name on it and the fellow who's using it is only a caretaker? God knows that he'll keep it intact for you. That's why he didn't just put anybody in the promised land. He put Amorites. Those are tough cookies, man. In other words, he wanted to secure it well so that nobody else would take what was yours. And then he gives you the power, and only you the power, to upstage the Amorite. So when you see the Amorite, don't you dare think that he's stronger than you. That's why God said to Joshua, fear thou not. Not one of them will be able to stand before you. Not one. There's no sickness, no trouble, no financial insufficiency, no debt that you're dealing with that is bigger than the God. And if you connect to him, watch what he'll do. I feel something here. Sammy, Josh went after them. Let me tell you, there was many. There was more than he could get with his army. So let's say this was the whole of the Amorites. Joshua could only get like this section. But everything that he could get, he got. He slew them, cut off their heads, decapitated them, stuck them with that javelin, put the spear in them, put the sword in there. He killed them. Kill it completely. Don't leave any bones on the plate. Crack the bones. Don't leave any flesh on the bone, and then don't leave any bone. Get it all. Joshua got all that he could get. And then he saw that the fight was still much, and he looked up and he saw something happening. What did he see happening? It's in your text. That, you know, they call God Jehovah Nissi, Jehovah Rophi, the God that heals, Jehovah Makadesh, the Lord who is your sanctification, Jehovah Sikkenu, the Lord your righteousness. But they didn't have a name for this aspect. Jehovah Rapatakashatata, the God that throws stones from heaven. When God saw the passion and the effort of Joshua, God said, I won in this fight myself. And he picked up stones and started throwing stones at the Amorites. And the Bible said that those who died by the hand of God, by the throwing of stones, were much more than those who died by the sword of Joshua. You do all you can and leave the rest to God. Do everything that is within your power and let God do everything that is in his power, baby. I don't know who you are, but you better get ready, buckle your seatbelt, pull out your tent pegs, enlarge your borders, saddle your horses, roll out your chariots, baby, because something is about to happen in your life. God whooped them. He whooped them, and it encouraged Joshua the more that he kept slaying more. And God kept slaying much more than Joshua. He kept slaying more, God kept slaying much more. And you know, I like Joshua. Joshua didn't want to leave the fight half-baked. He said, God, even though I'm tired, I like this fight. You know, victory is like coffee. Wake you up. In fact, it's stronger. He said, God, do me a favor. I need more time. God told me to tell you, don't look at the clock on the wall. Otherwise, you won't prosecute the victory. You won't interrogate the possibility. Stop looking at the clock. Because God said, I'm going to give you more light. I'm going to sustain the day. The sun will not set at your time of victory. It will not set just before you get the victory. God will elongate your days. He will renew your youth. He will refuel your strength. He will refresh your body. He will renew your youth like the eagle. You know, because sometimes we feel like it's too late. God, I'm too old. I wish you gave me this when I was 30 and still strong. I wish you did this for me when I was in childbearing age. But why would you bring me a husband when I'm 46? How will I have any children now? But God told me to tell you, don't look at the clock on the wall. Don't look at the clock in your body. Don't look at the clock that's in the skies called the sun. Don't look at the clock that's in the night called the moon, because I am going to prolong your day. In other words, hear me, child of God. God said I should declare to you this Sunday morning, I'm going to give you extra time. Oh, you didn't hear me. So I'm going to shout to the folk in the galleries. I said, God told me to tell you he's going to give you extra time. Now that he sees that you're in the victory and that you're winning the spoils, but you haven't touched the half of what he's going to do yet, I'm not going to turn off the clock. I'm not going to let the sun set. I'm going to give you extra time. Go to 7 people right now and tell them, don't faint now. Don't give up yet. Don't throw in the towel, because God said you have extra time. You have extra time. You have extra time. You have extra time. You've got extra time. You've got extra time. And in that extra time, kill everything that you can and let God kill the rest. Don't look at the clock on the wall. Help me, do one more thing for me. Look at somebody, tell them, this thing is working out, and now all I need is a little extra time. Oh, you didn't say it like I want you to say it. I tell them for me, it's working out. All I need is a little extra time. See, my friends, what you don't realize is that the devil thought that your day was over. And you know, the devil doesn't like to operate in the day. The time of his operation is in the darkness. And darkness is not the absence of the sun, it's the presence of trouble. And when he saw that the day was coming to an end, he was getting excited that maybe he might be able to reverse the fortunes of your battle. And he starts to threaten you. Your day is over. You're too old to get married. You're too old to have a baby. You're too spent to break out into your breakthrough. You're too wearied to get victory. The cancer is too far gone for you to get remission. The sickness is eating too much into your body for you to get a healing. The business has gone too far and now you don't have any more opportunities. You've been in it too long. You can't get anything out of it. And he tries to suggest to you thereby that your day is over. But slap 3 people a high five right now. Tell them the devil is a liar. And Joshua lifted up his voice and he spoke to the time. He spoke to the sun and the moon. He said, stand still, sun, over Gibeon. In other words, the clock must stop moving now. Spoke to the moon and he said, moon, stand still over Ajalon. And instantly he got 1 whole more day. Uncle T, I asked God, what does the day mean? What are you talking about? Because here I am. Now I'm here. Here I am. But all of a sudden, the enemy's coming against me here. But if I step in here, he can't get me. You know what God told me? He said, when you're here, you're operating in the natural. But once you called the sun and the moon to stand still, you stepped into a new day. Guess what that day is called? The day of grace. When you get something you don't deserve, when you get extra time to prosecute your victory, to win your war, to win your battle. And the Bible said something very powerful. It said, there had never been a day like it before, and there would never be a day like it afterwards. My friends, we are in the day of grace. It began the day that our Joshua went to the battle on Calvary's Hill and won a war for us that prolonged the time called grace. So that we've stepped into grace, and stuff we didn't earn, stuff we didn't deserve, stuff we couldn't get for ourselves has been bequeathed to us because of grace. Slap 3 people a high five, tell them it's a new day. It's a new hour. It's a new season. It's a new dawn. It's a new epoch. It's a new era. It's a season of new possibilities. It's a season of new things. It's not over until God says it's over. Because God told me to tell you, if you will ask him to give you extra time, you will recognize that your time is not yet up. Your day is not over. Slap somebody a high five, tell them it's not over. Devil, you made me cry and I wept sorely and drenched my pillow in tears, but it's not over. Devil, you knocked me down and you counted me out, but I want to tell you it's not over. Devil, you hit me real hard and it broke my wind. It backed me up real serious, but it's not over. Devil, you backed me up to the wall and you told me that I wouldn't live to see another day, but devil, you are a liar. It's not over until God says it's over. The devil's opportunity was before extra time. That's why you need to let the devil know it's too late for you. When you had your chance, you didn't use it. But now we ain't in your time anymore. We're now in God's time. And God don't allow you to operate in his time. You had your time, but your time is over and my time is just beginning. God will prolong your light. I said, God will prolong your light. There's never been a day like it before it, and there will never be a day like it after it. Why? Because this is the day of grace. There you are looking at your life and saying, I'm too far behind. Too much time has passed. I'm weary, older, and tired now. I'm worn. I'm so cautious. I don't want to take any risks. I'm not courageous anymore. I'm stricken with caution. While the enemy looks on at your complaining and murmuring and says, you've missed your day. But God sent me to tell you this Sunday morning, don't panic, because your day is not over yet. It's not over until God says it's over. For you, God will stop the clock. He will stop the sun. He will stop the moon. He will stop your enemies. You're too close to not win. Don't quit now. God will prolong his light in your day and prolong your day in his light. It's not too late. I know you wish you were younger. I know you feel too old for the kind of breakthrough you wanted. I know you feel it's time to give up. I know you feel like I can't have the baby anymore. The devil is a liar. Hear me, my friend. My mind goes to Peter. Peter gave up his fishing business. He parked his industry to follow a man who he saw as a winner. And he got connected. And as he remained connected, God blessed him. But this man, he went to his Jericho. Or should I say his AI. And he died on the cross. And Peter was disappointed. Peter felt, we connected to you, we gave up everything, we gave up many of our years at the peak of our productivity in our businesses. And here you are, you're gone. Now, not only are you gone, you stirred up the hornet's nest. So the hornets, they killed you and they're coming after us now. You know what he said? He said, guys, I ain't fishing for men anymore. I'm going back to fish for fishes. You know why he did that? Because he had lost. And he felt that the winner is no longer there. He's gone. They buried him. He's no longer alive. We saw this man that was larger than life buried in a borrowed tomb. Couldn't even afford a tomb. But then something happened, Commander. Something happened. When he went fishing, everybody went fishing with him. My friends, when you lose, your tendency is to go back to your weakness instead of your witness. And he went back, got on his boat, got back to his nets, and started fishing for fish again. And it wasn't working. Toiled all night and caught nothing, because when God translates you into a new life, he'll burn the bridges behind you so that even if you go back, you won't be able to get back. And whilst he's catching nothing, all of a sudden, I always try to figure out why did Peter strip naked, jump into the river or dive into it, swim to the shore, and then run up to Jesus? I finally figured it out. Because he refound his purpose. He thought that his day was over until on the boat, yonder on the shore, he saw the man he thought was dead, alive and winning. And he realized, my day is not over. That's what I came here to tell you. It's not over for you. It's not over. And as soon as Peter realized it, especially since the fishing wasn't working, he was happy to go back to what he had begun to enjoy, because God had prolonged his day by bringing the day star, the day sun, Jesus Christ, the bright and early morning star. And he stripped naked, dived into the water, and swam in a hurry to Jesus and reconnected with him. Somebody here, you've tried hard for the last 10 years, the last 15 years, and you've had to endure the pain of watching other lesser persons, parenthetical lesser persons, go past you, get further on than you, and make hay in a way that you never were able to. And you concluded, my day is over. When younger people are doing stronger things than you, doing better than you. And then in your middle age or your old age, you look back and you see the babies that you dedicated, they're overtaking you. That's where Peter was. He thought that because the winter was gone, that he'd never be able to catch men or fish for men anymore. So he decided, I'm going back to fish for fish. Whereas fishing for fish was his kindergarten to prepare him for his university, which was fishing for men. And whilst he was there, the master told him, he said, cast your net on the other side. He caught the fish. He didn't get the fish back to the shore, but by the time he got back to the shore, whilst the fish was still in the boat, Jesus was already cooking fish. Peter, your day is not over. Peter, your day is not over. Satan had sold him a lie that his day was over. But I tell you, if you cry out to God, he will stop the clock for you. He will renew your strength. He will refuel your forces. He will refire your pistons. He will refresh your virtue. He will refresh your energy. He will give you back your vigor. You do what you can and allow God to do the rest. I came here to tell you, God is giving you a day of grace. That day is not a 24-hour period. It's a day that begun on Calvary's cross and will not end till Jesus comes back to close the age. He says, I will not let the sun set, nor will I let darkness come. I will keep you in the light until you win completely.
Thank you for making our time to listen to this message. For additional information on this and other ministry products by Pastor Paul Adefarasin, please contact us on 01-461-4120 or 01-461-4135 or by email to info@houseontherrock.org.ng. You can also visit our website on www.houseontherrock.org.ng. God bless you.